Okay, so this video is gonna be my full process for making snare drums. Um, I usually do this over a few days, the different steps, so I make like 20 different ones and then I do the next step the next day or a week later or whatever, just to give my ears some rest and to make better decisions, but I'm gonna do it all in one video here. I'm gonna play you some made with a similar process first, so you can decide if you even want to watch this. Just here the examples. Something like this, or maybe this one will be a bit different. Yeah, or like, not all of these are finished by the way, but just so you get an idea. These are all too loud. Something like this maybe. Because I'm gonna do it all in one and I'm wearing headphones, it's probably gonna be a bit worse than these. Maybe it won't, but the concepts will be the same, so yeah. These kinds of processes vary a lot anyways, so I'm gonna first start by just getting some kind of synth. And by the way, I like to use an oscilloscope for this. Sorry for hitting the mic, just so I can see what I'm doing here. You can of course also just use the Bitwig one, and the spectrum analyzer can be useful, especially for the start when tuning this and stuff. So I'm gonna get like a note here. Solo this group here, group this, and I want something around 200 hertz, so this is like at 300 maybe, so something a bit lower. At least that's sort of the norm for snares, I find. Sort of between maybe 170 and 250 or something like that. Doesn't matter too much, but yeah. Quite like this right now. The synth I like to use doesn't really matter. I like to have something that can do multi-stage envelopes, which with Bitwig of course is not a big deal because you have the modulator. And something that can do a bit of FM, because it can add some nice metallic kind of character to the sound. So yeah, you'll see about that later. I'm gonna just set up the first basic check if I'm recording raw audio. Yeah, because I did this before yesterday and it wasn't. Turn the sustain all the way up and use this for the volume envelope of this red oscillator. Just sort of make it a bit faster. Make this note a bit longer maybe, just so it has enough sustain here to get through all this envelope. And then I like to have this kind of short burst of the fundamental that then quite quickly decays, and the burst you sort of want it long enough so it gets some volume, but not so long that it actually sounds like a sustain. It should sound more like a single punch kind of sound. Maybe something like this. I'm gonna turn off the filter for now. Then I want a pitch envelope. I'm gonna copy this one and make it really fast. I'm gonna sort of something like this and sort of a slow decay just to have. No, I tweaked the wrong envelope. Here, this, make it really short. Get something that quickly goes down, and then I don't really want it to ever land on a pitch, so it'll not be clearly tonal in any way. It'll be tonal, but not one specific pitch. Maybe set this to like, yeah, 12 semitones or something. Doesn't really matter too much. Yeah. Something like this, and then that'll do for now. Maybe shorten this a bit. Often I find this release actually has more of an impact on how long the sound sounds compared to this sustain here. I don't know why, but as long as the sustain isn't too long, you can get away with quite a long sustain if you keep the release short. So yeah, something like this, a short burst of a fundamental to give it some weight. I'm gonna work on the fundamentals some more first. So I want to give this more of a transient. So I'm gonna copy this again and just use this to maybe shape the FM from the purple one. And make this quite high. Maybe something like the 7th harmonic. Maybe actually detune it a bit. Actually, the 7th harmonic of the first subharmonic maybe. Something like this. Make this a bit faster. Needs to be even faster. The smoothing should be off. For this one, I think, maybe. This smoothing sounds better, but this smoothing I think should be off. Because I just want the transient to be reinforced by getting some harmonics in there. Maybe a bit longer. Something like this without. With, you can hear it just adds some snap here. Then next I want some more constant harmonics, maybe from the 3rd. Or like a subharmonic actually. So like basically a perfect 5th. Gonna copy this envelope again here. Make sure I'm editing this one, make this a bit slower. And then, yeah, this sounds quite bad of course. So I'm just gonna tune this around a bit. Maybe add a tiny bit of stereo to this. Also add the transient to it. I'm not using these outputs here, it's all just the red one being phase modulated or frequency modulated by the other ones. Maybe turn this up. I quite like this saw wave actually, but I need to make it shorter, I think. Yeah, something like this. Maybe here add an envelope to the shape. Just sort of trying to create some interest by giving different envelopes to everything and to control the sound more. This transient is a bit much for me now. Maybe take this one and just sort of take the transient down a bit. To maybe something like this and sort of give it really short initial transient. This tail needs to be shorter. A lot of these decisions just come from experience, and it's also just kind of a gamble, which is why I later just render out a bunch and choose the one that sounds the best. So yeah, something like this should do. Maybe the pitch envelope needs some work. this. Yeah, I think this will do for now. Am I using the yellow one yet? Maybe I can find some nice harmonics with this. Yeah, I quite like this, so I'm just gonna use it as a constant one, just to add some metallic sound here. Maybe detune it a bit. This is actually quite nice. You know, just moving stuff around. Experimenting a bit. Till I've got some harmonics I quite like. This should work, I think. Although this will probably need to be even. No, it doesn't really need to be shorter right now. I might later turn down the fundamental with some EQ. So second layer I'm gonna just use test tone for, because I only really need some noise. I'm gonna get a shaper here. No, it's curve. I think, no, it's not curve, it's segment, sorry. This one here. And just map this to the gain. So we can have some nice noise envelope here. Maybe use pink noise. Turn these down. This is sort of gonna be the body noise that gives the snare some more, I don't quite know what to call it, like some more weight, I guess. This is of course way too slow. So I want something more like this. Yeah, something like this maybe. Then I'm gonna EQ this a bit. Just take out some lows. Not too much lows from this though. Take out some highs. Just a 2-pole filter though. Then maybe just give it some more character by shaping it a bit here. Just going by what sounds best. So yeah, you can see it's starting to sound a bit like a snare, I suppose. And then I want to turn down these highs a bit, because I'm gonna add another noise layer. Another test tone, which is gonna be the high noise. And I'm gonna do some different stuff to this. So I get a segment, one-shot mode, and just map it to the gain again. Get like a 16th note maybe. So this will be the high noise. Gonna take quite a bit of lows out of this. And maybe give it some more, maybe make it, no, give it some more sustain here. Actually turn these mix both up. Then what I like doing is getting a kind of, what's it called, a tremolo here. And adding some kind of envelope to this. Especially to the speed. So maybe take the speed up at first. Ah, I should have copied this without holding control. Turn the speed up at first and then have it decrease a bit. Yep, something like this. And maybe take the depth down for the transient. I'm not sure yet. Take the depth down here. So edited the wrong envelope again. Once again. No, this is the right one. Just take the depth down. Take it up, just experiment. Maybe set this to the square waveform. No, I like the sine best actually. Turn both of these to retrigger. This one, so yeah. So this is the basic sort of snare sound. I'm gonna tweak this now. Maybe add some more. No. 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 I think this lacks some harmonics, so what I might do is actually get another test tone and put this in a rack. Get a tool. So this is just gonna be the dry, and this is gonna be the test tone. I'm gonna turn this to 100% wet and get like a square wave, and use an envelope follower here to control this one's gain. And then I'm gonna use an audio rate to kind of ring modulate this. I suppose maybe take the mids, maybe use a triangle wave instead. Yeah, this sounds kinda nice. So you just add some harmonic metallic kind of sound here. And then I'm gonna EQ this a bit, which is why I put it in the rack here. So I'm gonna take some... Actually, I'm gonna use Pro Q for this, just so I can have some more control over this. This one. Because I don't want this resonance to be quite as extreme. Maybe give it some more attack actually. I am gonna add limiter now. I'm just gonna use elevate because that's my personal favorite, but you can just use the Bitwig limiter. The peak sort of controlled. Yeah, I don't really need all this lower stuff here. I just want some top harmonics. Turn the sustain up. Maybe filter this a bit and then add a tool here. And just add another shaper here. Where is it? It's not called shaper, it's called segments. Sorry, never mind. Put this here. Just to take some attack down. Map this to volume. Go all the way to 0. Make this way quicker here. And then make it shorter. And then turn the gain down a bit. Because I don't really want this, maybe do this while I have the noises. Just to kind of mix this back in here. I've got this EQ'd. So next step is gonna be processing them all together a bit. So I'm gonna get... what do I want to do? I'm gonna get a transient shaper, I think. Actually, no, I don't. What do I want to do? I'm gonna get a reverb in this group here. And I'm gonna send all these layers individually to this reverb. So I like to use Valhalla Vintage Verb for this, just some plate here. And I can send these individual layers, so maybe... short decay, short attack, short pre-delay. Pre-filter it a bit. Get transient shaper after this to make it less of a sort of room simulation and more just give it some more physicality. But I don't really want to place this in a space yet. Yeah, this sounds nice. Something like this. Then I'm gonna EQ this a bit. And I can hear some issues with this fundamental layer here. I think this might need a high pass filter. Or maybe make the pitch envelope a bit steeper. Yeah, I quite like this. Then I'm gonna turn the reverb a bit down, I think. Turn this to 0 dB and actually move my limiter on the group here. Yep. So I'm gonna add some saturation next, I think. Or maybe add, yeah, saturation. Add some Saturn, or you can use whatever, of course. Actually, might as well use Filter Plus while it's still relatively new, just to experiment a bit. And I'm gonna use this in parallel. So this is of course way too loud. Try some different. No. 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 I'm gonna use heat, I think. And just add some post EQ here. I only really wanted around 1K, I guess, maybe a bit lower. Just this kind of thing, I guess. Add a transient control. gate. So next I want some more EQ here, because I can hear some annoying resonances. I want to take out some lows. Maybe also tame some highs. And then blend this in with the original signal. Actually, maybe it'll sound nicer if I just get harmonics of the lows here. Yep, and then I'm gonna need to take out some more lows here, bring some more highs in. Something like this maybe. Yeah. Now I'm going to add a saturator, maybe the kilohertz distortion on saturation here. Turn the dynamics all the way up. Turn the mid noise down a bit, and then I think I'm going to EQ out the fundamental now that it's sort of driven it all into some distortion. Not EQ it out fully, of course, but just sort of control it a bit. I'm going to turn off the analyzer just to speed things up a bit here. Maybe just compress it a bit. As you can already see, this is why I do this in multiple days usually, because your ears just get used to hearing this sound over and over and over again. So yeah, some more saturation next, maybe Saturn on warm tape, but separate. Fundamental. That's too much. As you can already see, this transient here is way quieter than this noise bit, so we're gonna take care of that next. Actually just with some compression, I guess. I'm gonna use Pro C because I'm not a big fan of the Bitwig compressor. Although I could also use something free, maybe like Compass, something. Just use this on the FET, I think will do. Turn the threshold all the way down, ratio all the way up. And just sort of let this transient here through. And then maybe tame it a bit, actually add a lot of makeup gain, I think, because I don't mind this envelope. That's a bit much, I think. Just to add some punch, you know, turn the attack down a bit, actually. Yeah, maybe something like this. And then I want another reverb, I think. So I'm gonna add another send and use a convolution for this. Now another send, not an audio track. Get a convolution here. Just to give it some more physicality, I suppose. Get like maybe like a drum room or something. Studio rooms. There's some snare ones here, I think. This kind of thing. Solo it. No, definitely not this one. This is kind of nice. Yeah, I'm gonna use this small room, I think. Or maybe real rooms. Oh. Actually, I'm gonna use this, but tweak it a lot. I'm gonna turn down the release part of it. Add some width here. And then it's not really balanced stereo-wise, so I'm gonna get a tool, because I can hear it's a bit much to the right. Yeah, this needs to be shortened a lot, so I'm gonna get a transient shaper. So staying all the way down. Take some lows out of this. Some highs as well. Something about this fundamental still kind of bothering me, so maybe control this test tone a bit more. No, I'm not sure. I think it's the pitch envelope that maybe needs. Maybe this will work better, maybe give this a tiny bit of something like this. This has too much pre-delay. Yeah, this will do. So what I'm gonna do now is make a bunch of tweaks on this and render it a few times. So first of all, just bounce this out to a new track. Just create some variations so we have something to choose from later. So maybe I want like different pitch envelope. And I don't know, different tuning here. Maybe more of this reverb, less of this, maybe different frequency. Maybe this should be a bit shorter. And this needs a faster attack, I think. This needs more low cut. And then maybe some saturation here. Why is it still so quiet? Oh, because I've got the wrong thing soloed. Maybe actually some pitch shifting can sometimes be nice to add some granularity, kind of. Maybe like this. Yeah, bounce it out again, why not? I've got bounce for a shortcut, you can just set that in the settings somewhere. I'm gonna make one other one, just to demo this, but usually I do like 10 or something. Maybe actually try a different wave shape here. Maybe give this like a different one. And like change around some envelopes. And maybe transient shape, not gate this noise a bit. Yeah, this is still way too long. I'm gonna something like this. That might be nice. And then, yeah, 3 will do for now. Then I'm just gonna go through my process for polishing one of these and sort of pick the nicest ones. I throw a lot of these away usually. So we've got, I'm gonna turn them up to full volume here. Got this. And this, I'm gonna pick the second one. I like it the most, I think. Put it in a group. And now I'm gonna layer this and edit it a bunch. So I'm first of all gonna see if I want to tweak the audio envelope a bit. So I'm gonna go into this audio editor here. Get the gain. And just sort of try some stuff. Actually, I want to place a clipper on it first, just because I'm probably going to drive this into the clipper quite a bit with this. Especially the initial transient kind of bit of the sound. I want this to be proper loud. You know, something like this, then this can be turned up a bit as well. And then this tail needs some shaping, I think. Yes, now this sounds a lot nicer. Something like this. Gonna bounce this in place and gonna start put another limiter on this, elevate again, and start thinking about some layers for this, maybe to add some interest. So it sounds like it's got plenty of highs already, but maybe I want some Foley. I'm just gonna go through whatever I have here Maybe some metal sounds. This is just some stuff I recorded. You'll be able to get all these metal sounds and also these drums when I've finished them, which I will have finished, together with like a bunch of other snares and kicks and so on my Gumroad. I'm gonna link that, but yeah, I'm just gonna dig through this for now. So you're watching advertising right now, which I almost forgot to mention, so maybe it's not great advertising, but this is advertising. You've been scammed. Congratulations. Why does this sound so horrible now? Ah, because I started at the wrong time. Maybe pitch this up a bit. Some filtering. And turn it down again. No, this maybe? Yep, this is nice. But I don't want it to be quite as long, just sort of harmonic ring here. Identify the frequency. Don't really need anything below. But I do need some stuff above it. Something like this. Maybe like find a clap or something to layer this with. These aren't real claps, but they kind of function as claps a bit. Just gonna shape these a lot. This needs to be in the group. Needs to be high passed a lot. Quite a short sound, and then I'm gonna listen to it all. Yeah, I think these are enough layers just to make this video not too long. I'm gonna do some final shaping here by getting a compressor first of all. And getting classic style, just because I find it a bit easier to sort of here identify the transient. Actually gonna use clean style, so something like this. Is the punch bit I want to reinforce. Then rein this back quite a bit with some fast release, and then I'm gonna saturate it a bit to give it some more volume with some clean tape. just you can see it sort of takes some dynamics out if you saturate it. If you overdo it, it flattens it completely like this. If you just do it a little bit, it's quite a nice effect. Maybe add like a split here. Something like this, and then I'm gonna do the limiting. So first of all, just drive it. I'm not gonna explain how this limiter works really. There's a good video on this by someone called Heron Island Studio, I think, that goes in depth into all these modules. That sort of helped me make some more sense of this. But basically it's just a limiter with an EQ, a transient shaper, and a clipper. Just to get the sounds nice and loud. This is too much transient emphasis. Something like this maybe. And then actually turn down the threshold a bit. Just, no, this looks a bit too flat to me, but it sounds fine. So I'm gonna leave it actually. Just trust my ears for once. So yeah, I think this will wrap up the tutorial. I probably would tweak this a bunch more, and as I say, do this over a few days and sort of make a lot of these bounces, then later come back, do the layering, do the processing and so on. And this is how you can end up with a lot of somewhat nice snares. Even if you can't reliably produce a good one every time, you can just make 30 and pick the best 4 or something. And that way you'll probably end up with some decent snares if you know what you're doing. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hope it helped somehow. Wasn't too long or rambly. You can get a big drum pack on my Gumroad. I'll link it in the comments somewhere. And also this metal stuff and so on. But of course you also don't really need it now because you know how to make your own. So I'm gonna have to find a new way to make money, I guess. See ya, bye.